In this video, I will be showing you how to solve equation by completing the square, solve quadratic equation by completing the square when there is a leading coefficient. This is what I mean by leading coefficient. There's a number here. This 4 is a leading coefficient. It was not there in example 1, 2, and 3. So we have a new challenge now with this 4 right in the front of the s square. So the first thing that we need to do whenever there is a leading coefficient is to get rid of this 4. Get rid of this number in the front of s squared. Get rid of it. So what we do is we're going to divide every single term by 4. Divide by 4, 2 divided negative 2 divided by 4, negative 1 divided by 4, 0 divided by 4, like this. Divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4. So now we have everything divided by 4. We need to simplify each fraction. We're going to simplify each fraction. This 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we're going to be left with x squared. X squared will be left. This 2 divided by 4 is 1/2. So we'll be left with minus 1/2 x. This 1/4, negative 1/4 divided by 1/4 is in the simplified form of the fraction. So we're going to keep it like that. Minus 1/4 equals, now 0 divided by 4 is 0. 0 divided by anything is 0. Just like 0 times anything is 0. So it's going to remain 0 on the right side. From here on, we're ready to apply the same process that we already learned to do, which is get this variable by itself on the left side, the variable terms by themselves on the left side, and move the constant term to the right side. So there's nothing new anymore from here. Everything is just as we have learned it before. So on the next screen, I will show you how the 1/4 is moved to the other side. Well, I think I'll show you right here first. So you're going to have x squared minus 1/2 x equals 1/4. Remember that moving this to the other side actually changes the sign, because effectively you're adding 1/4 to both sides. Add 1/4 to both sides. That's what you did. Alright. So it becomes plus on the other side. Okay, let's move on. So here is 1/4 on the other side. 1/4 on the other side. Now we're just going to add blanks. We put blanks on both sides. And then the next job is to figure out what should be inside this, what should be on this blank. We're going to follow exactly the same procedure as before. Remember that what we need to do to fill this blank is to do b squared b over 2 squared. So we're going to do 1/2 over 2. So we're going to do 1/2, which is this b right here, times 1/2. That's the same thing as dividing by 2. And then square the answer. So 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. And then 1/4 squared will be 1/16. So here, this place is going to be 1/16. Here it's going to be 1/16. That is how we got the 1/16 here and the 1/16 here. because we did 1/2 squared and then we got 1/16. The next step is to add this right side together. So what you can do is to make them the same denominator. So here is 1/4, 1/4, 1/2. So 1/4 plus 1/16. If you multiply this by 4 and by 4, you will get the same denominator. So 4/16 plus 1, this is 1/16, sorry, 1/16. Okay, so we can keep the same denominator of 16 and add 4 plus 1 is 5/16. So the right side will be 5/16. Well, if that is going to be too much math for you, you can take your calculator and do 1/4, enter, plus 1/16, enter, and change the answer to fraction, so you don't get bogged down by the fraction. That's not what we're doing. So it doesn't take away from the focus of the work. Anyway, however you're comfortable with this is 5/16. That's the right side. The left side you have to convert to something squared like that. Now you have to remember that this is going to be x and it's going to be minus, and then we're going to take a half of a half. This is how you do a half of a half. As you erase some of this thing off and do a half of a half. So 1/2, erase this off. Now we're going to do 1/2 of 1/2. 1/2 of 1/2 is 1/4, which is what we squared in the previous, which is what we did over here. So it's going to be 1/4 here. Okay, so now on the next screen you will see that. So here it is. The 1/2 of 1/2 is 1/4. 1/4 squared is 1/16. And 1/4 plus 1/16 is 5/16. Our next step now is to square root both sides. We're going to square root both sides. Square root like that. Now you have to remember that this square root will make this square to go away. So you'll be left with x minus 1/4 on the left side. And then you're going to have to separate the square root over there. Square root 5 divided by square root 16. Okay, so, but you know that square root 5 is irrational. We're going to keep it like that. But square root 16 is 4. So you're going to get 4. So your left side will be this, and your right side will be this. And this is this intermediate step, taking square root of both sides. Remember the plus or minus though, okay, plus minus. This was what I was trying to show you, where we separate them into 2. Remember the plus or minus, separate into 2, okay? And now, square root 5, square root 4. So remember the plus minus, okay? And now what we're going to do is to move this 1/4, add 1/4 to both sides. So this 1/4 is just going to go from where it is. It's going to go right over this equal sign and become plus. So x will be by itself. So it will be 1/4 plus minus square root 5/4. That is what the next step will be. Hopefully it's not confusing. Okay, so we move on to the next step. So here is that is being added, but we are not done fully. Since we have the same denominator of 4, here is the same denominator of 4. 4 is here, and 4 is here. So we can keep that denominator as 4 and then add the numerator together. So the numerator will just be 1 and root 5, plus minus between them. So that's how we got the numerator over here. That's how we got that. It's because we keep the denominator and then we add the numerator together and keep the sign. Now, you can go one more step further by separating this solution into 2. So it will look like this. It will look like this. 1 minus root 5 over 4, comma, 1 plus root 5 over 4. And that concludes our work. We got the 2 solutions, and they are irrational numbers. That's why it's not factorable. You end up with irrational number like that, and that's your final solution. Hopefully this helps